All right, San Diego and Southern California, what's going on? It's hour one of Jon and Jim. We are back. We'll be with you for 3 hours.
Back.
If you were questioning if we'd be here or not, we are.
Like, if anybody had any issues with our Friday show and thought this was the last show that we'll ever have, don't worry. We're still here.
You know what's amazing, by the way? And we've got Dan Lang, MLB Network Radio. He's going to join us at 3:30. He lives in D.C. He covers the Nationals, so we'll get us ready for Nationals. And Padres, this happens a lot. People will see us on Fridays downtown, and they'll be like, man, I completely disagree with what you said on Tuesday about Profile. I'm like, what did I don't even know
what I said.
I don't remember anything. Whatever we say here for these 3 hours, honestly, thank you for reminding us, because otherwise I wouldn't remember. And then we do the wrap-up show, and it's all cyclical, and it goes round and round and round. Anyway, Dan Lang, MLB Network Radio at 3:30 on Padres Nationals. Erson Demir is an NBA draft analyst, and he's going to join us coming up at 4 p.m. We're 2 days away, by the way, from the NBA draft. And oh, by the way, we have New Kids on the Blocks tickets. New Kids on the Block? On the block. New Kids on the Blocks to give away. July 7th, North Island Credit Union Amphitheater. We'll do that today during Trainwreck Radio. Here's today's talkback question for Padres fans. How concerned are you about the injuries the Padres are facing? How concerned are you about these injuries that the Padres are facing? You can hit us up on the talkback mic. Open the app. Search for San Diego Sports 760. Tap that red talkback mic. That, to me, is the story. I mean, they're 41-41. They win a series against the Milwaukee Brewers. They've played well here. They've won 4 of 5. They'd won 4 consecutive games, but it's one thing after the next. IL Darvish, we don't know if he's going to make his next start per Kevin AC. Fernando Tatis Jr., we're waiting to see if he goes on the IL or not. We know that Manny Machado has been walking wounded. Jurickson Profar, Joe Musgrove, it just goes on and on and on. So 80 games to play. They're fine in terms of where they stand, so to speak. They're 41-41, but can they overcome the injuries or not?
It's impressive that they are 41-41 with the amount of injuries they have, especially to their starting rotation. You tell me, if I told you the start of the year on June 24th, their starting rotation would be Matt Waldron, Michael King, Dylan Cease, Randy Vasquez, and Adam Major. And
I'd be surprised.
And Matt Waldron was their best pitcher without knowing anything else. And I said, what's their record? I'd be like, probably not good. But it's, for the low bar that is the National League, it's considered a good mark, which is the 41-41 mark. They are right in the thick of it. They're with every single team in the National League, seemingly, and they have a million injuries, it feels like. To me, the biggest concern right now, would you say it's IL Darvish, or would you say it's Fernando Tatis Jr.? Because I personally think it could be IL Darvish.
I definitely think it's IL Darvish.
Okay.
Yeah, I just think as a starter and with 80 games, so you're talking about 16 starts if healthy is 80 games. That's 16 starts for a starter in the final 80 games of the season. They need him. There's no other way to look at it. Now, you can go out at the deadline and do what AJ Preller has done previously and make wholesale change and bring in starting pitching, and he might be able to do that. But if there's going to be a downfall based on what we've seen from the Padres previously, look at this decade. It always relates to starting pitching. Very rarely is it like, oh, they were without a position player, they were done in. No, 2020, they didn't have Clevenger and Lamet. 2021, they were pitching whomever in the second half of the year, Vince Velasquez. 2022 in the postseason, Clevenger, Manaea. Pitching against the Phillies. Then last year, Joe Musgrove goes on the IL late. It's all on starting pitching for me. Their offense has been well above league average, and they've dealt with injuries, and they've had guys out. They need to get this rotation fully intact to make a serious run at being a team that's capable of being well over 500.
And if Darvish is not going to pitch tomorrow, which it kind of feels like it.
I agree with that.
And then you have Adam Major back in that spot. He is just kind of one of those, you take whatever you get from him, but don't expect too much type of player right now in his career. You have no idea when Joe's coming back. I'll continue to say it. I just don't have any faith that Joe will be back this season. And if he is back, I don't have any faith that he's going to be effective this year. Like the Joe we saw last year when he was out there, and obviously the Joe we've seen here in the past. But the IL Darvish thing is just very interesting because he makes his start for the Tin Caps, doesn't pitch great. I think he gives up a grand slam, gives up 7 runs. I don't know if it was, but
I don't know if it was 7, but he didn't pitch well.
He did not. He came out of it feeling fine. They even announced him as the starter for tomorrow. And now there's questions like what happened in between his start and I guess, deciding if he's going to pitch tomorrow, that there's some doubt there.
Well, what happened was he didn't throw his bullpen.
But why didn't he throw his bullpen?
Well, we don't know as of yet. I'm sure we'll find out, but it's very rare in baseball for someone to start, even when healthy, when they don't throw a bullpen. The only examples of that happening are if someone starts and uses the start as their bullpen. So he could start and throw a quote-unquote bullpen, which is like 30 pitches, and throw an inning or two potentially as his bullpen. Like, I wouldn't rule that out based on everything that we know right now. But it's massively concerning considering everything we know. He's been on the IL multiple times, and you don't have Joe Musgrove in the short term. So right. Musgrove and Darvish heading into the year, this is like, how do you get to the postseason? By riding Musgrove and Darvish. Will they be healthy? We don't know. And now they're getting very little productivity out of those two players because of health. So I don't know what to think of it. To your point, and I know we're big like, hey, we're not going to excuse it based on injuries, but the fact that they did win 3 out of 4 this weekend against Milwaukee, and they've got a game where they're not playing Tatis or Profar, and they're hitting 3 home runs, and they are winning games without key pieces, I think is, somewhat impressive. But can you rely on that long term? And I think the answer is no. They have to get healthy to make a serious run at anything, unless the National League is that bad that you can skate by. You make a move in July, you can be injury riddled, and maybe 80 wins is enough to get into the postseason. I just don't see them as an 85-plus win team if they're dealing with injuries all year, is my point.
I mean, they got through it this weekend. They played really good baseball, takeaway yesterday, but taking 3 of 4, it's really hard to sweep a 4-game series in baseball.
Oh, absolutely.
It just is.
Yeah.
So
it was a good series.
If you take 3 of 4, I can't find anything to complain about with the series. Like, a lot of times when this team this year has that opportunities to sweep in 3-game series, more often than not, it's been disappointing the final game where you're like, another opportunity missed. I don't feel like it was an opportunity missed this weekend to sweep a 4-game series. I don't.
No, not at all.
Especially against a first place team in the Brewers. So taking 3 of 4 was a great accomplishment for coming home and having one of the worst road trips of the season through Philly and New York. And to take 3 of 4 right away, to get back to 500, you feel good. Jackson Merrill has been on fire. Jake Cronenworth has been on fire. When Profar's out there, he continues to remain Profar. Manny's heating up a little bit. It's not red hot, but it seems like he's getting better. And it feels like with how many injuries they have throughout the team, it's a series by series basis here. Like, hey, we're going to worry about this series when the series happens because we have so many injuries. We don't even know like who's starting this game and who's this game. We know this guy's availability and this guy's availability, how he's feeling, how that guy's feeling, because Tatis could go on the IL today. Profar at any moment feels like his knee could give out and he has to be taken out of the game. It's happened twice now in the last couple of weeks. Manny, he's the like walking wounded guy out there, but he's going to play through it. And you have a lot of questions with the rest of your rotation.
Yeah, I just feel like right now is the calm before the storm. Like, you get that beautiful day before a hurricane, and that's hopefully Matt Waldron pitching tonight, because here's the news right now from Jeff Sanders. Jose Azocar is packed and left the Padres clubhouse. He said, well, why? And Bryce Johnson is still with the Padres. So a lot of speculation yesterday was, hey, Tatis might go on the IL because they called up someone from AAA, Bryce Johnson, just in case. Well, Jeff Sanders at the UT is saying Jose Azocar is packing up, Bryce Johnson here. And then Kevin has retweeted that by saying there is a pitcher move coming as well.
Because they need help with this bullpen who is taxed.
Well, or is it the Yu Darvish move?
Well, then why not just put Yu Darvish on the IL again?
Because he's on the IL.
He
hasn't come off. That's the problem.
Yeah, he hasn't been activated. You're right.
The reason, and by the way, like Kevin was on with Darren earlier today, you can't call back up Adam Major unless you put someone on the IL. There's no active spot for Adam Major. He's already been taken off and replaced with Tom Cosgrove. So, and also there's rules against yo-yoing. So they're going to have to get into the weeds there. But is the pitcher move, to your point, is it to bolster your bullpen? Is it for a day before you have to throw someone Tuesday, can you get away with Tuesday just with a bullpen day?
Johnny,
potentially?
Jeff Sanders says that Johnny Brito is also packing.
So that could be an IL move to get a starter here. So we're gonna have significant
Moves.
change here with the Padres, which is the least surprising thing if you've been watching, because they're dealing, like you said, it's every day. It feels like they're dealing with something. Should we hear from Mike Schopp as we have the latest on Fernando Tatis Jr.? Was this from yesterday or today?
This is yesterday. Mike Schopp, I don't think, has talked to the media yet. That will be shortly. I'm sure we can get some of that audio to you.
Do we want to hear from Schulte on Tatis, or is that now maybe not as relevant because of Tatis?
Well, we don't know the move, so I feel like you can listen to Schulte here, and you just listen to his tone, and just here's Mike Schopp yesterday talking about Fernando Tatis Jr.
He's available today. We didn't find the spot for him. He's available to hit today. There was a couple of different moments where we were just like a hitter away or a matchup away. Wasn't going to do it to do it. And even in the sixth, there was a window for that. Just didn't present itself to get to that spot.
Okay. I mean, I don't feel as if he wasn't being truthful there. That doesn't mean he's not going on the IL.
Mm-hmm.
But it didn't scream to me, we're actually not going to play him. And if he wasn't in uniform, because he was in uniform.
Yeah. I mean, they said his quad is more concerning than his elbow.
Mm-hmm.
Or they didn't say that. That's what it's been reported as. I saw a funny tweet from Kevin. Where is it? He was talking about Fernando Tatis Jr. and playing through this injury, right? And the words were, it's a big deal. He has been playing through the quad strain, talking about Tatis.
Mm-hmm.
Teammates have been impressed, probably reached a point where Padres have to make a decision to read whether he needs a break. The part where teammates have been impressed.
You think it's Manny Machado wants him to play?
I don't think Manny Machado wants him to play, but who's the leader of this team? It's Manny Machado. How does Manny Machado lead? By his actions.
By playing.
How many times have we seen like Manny Machado play through injury, and that is how he expresses his leadership qualities? It's just funny to me how like these players are seeing Manny play through injuries, and they probably think to themselves, I got to play through an injury because I can't go down on the IL if Manny's not going to go down on the IL.
Maybe. I'm curious about, I mean, here's the thing. Tatis, while playing with Manny, has been on the IL a lot in his career. Like sometimes if you're hurt, you're hurt.
Well, those are different injuries. Those are injuries you have to go on the IL for.
But here's the thing. We don't have any idea the extent of the quad or the extent of the elbow. And also, like, Darvish is on the IL. Musgrove is on the IL. But, I mean, so I hope that's not what they're thinking. I'd be surprised if a player with a $340 million contract is like, listen, it's in my best interest to go on the IL, but my locker's next to Manny, and he's going to look at me a different way. That would surprise me. I'm not saying it's impossible.
I think it's more of I got to push through this because the team needs me.
Sure.
And it's just something that I can manage. And maybe in a different year or maybe whenever, like if we were 10 games above 500, maybe I do go on the IL for 2 weeks. But in this situation, I can't because I just got off a 17-game hitting streak where I was on fire, and I need to be out there for my team.
Yeah, I said last night in the wrap-up show, when they went 0-9 in 3-game series against the Rockies, Angels, and Mets, if they would have just gone 4-5 in those 9 games, they'd be 8 games over 500. And you would consider putting someone like Fernando Tatis Jr. or Manny Machado or whomever on the IL because you feel like you could buy time and you'd want to get these players healthy for the long run. This feels to me a little bit like 2023, where Bob Melvin, in like a breakdown of the season, said, I wanted to give guys like Machado, Tatis, Soto days, but we weren't playing well. And I didn't feel as if I'd be putting my team in the best spot to win if I wasn't playing my best players. I'm feeling that a little bit with this team because, like, they're treading and they're doing everything they can to stay above water. And if they were in the American League, they wouldn't be buried, but they'd be in a bad spot. But in the National League, they're where they need to be. But they can't afford another 5-game losing streak. They can't afford that continually occurring. It's like you got to be able to get these players on the field is probably what they're thinking because we're 41-41. This is what they're thinking. We're 41-41 with playing these guys. What would we be without these guys?
I also think what they're thinking is we just got to get to July. We just got to get to July where we have so many off days, where we play 20 games in 30 days, which is crazy in baseball because you don't get that many days off in a season in 1 month, it feels like.
Yeah.
Maybe July's because of the All-Star break, but still, I don't think they play a Monday at all in July. I'm
think
pretty
you're
sure
right.
they don't play one Monday in July.
No, 5 straight Monday off days, multiple Thursday off days. You're right.
Yeah. So it's a patching things together at this moment in time, making sure there isn't any more major injuries, getting these guys as healthy as you possibly can, and staying above water here, staying afloat.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we're not asking, or at least I'm not asking right now with the state of this team, to try to reel off 8 in a row, because I don't think they can reel off 8 in a row. I'd love to be proven wrong, but I'm not asking for that. I think we're just asking, just get to July with your head above water. Don't let these next 2 weeks be a bad 2 weeks where then in July, it feels like you got to put your foot on the gas pedal a little bit to get to the trade deadline, to prove to AJ Preller to go out and maybe make another blockbuster move, even though he'll do it regardless.
Right. Whether they're under 500 or over 500 is probably coming. There was this as well. This has nothing to really do with the injuries, what we're going to play, or does it? Is this the Machado sound on playing through injuries, or is this just Machado on the media narrative, or is it both?
Both-ish.
Okay. Okay. Then it might.
Marty asked a question, and it revolved around playing at home and away, and then there's Manny goes into narratives about what the media says about the team, and it's an interesting listen.
Okay, so this is Manny Machado. We'll see if he talks about playing through injuries or not here, but there's that discussion yesterday after the game as well. But here's Manny Machado yesterday after the Padres lose to the Brewers.
And it's listen, I think I've said it before. It's you reporters love writing headlines and writing things and putting things out there and putting things out in the universe. Because you guys put that out there, and now we're playing well at home, and we suck on the road, right? And we're good on the road, and we sucked at home. So we're just going to continue to play our game, keep playing baseball, and that's all we can do is go out there and have fun, enjoy ourselves, compete every single day like we did this weekend, and we're going to continue doing that, for the rest of the year.
Washington coming in now, a few familiar faces there. They're swinging the bats pretty well right now. What do you see from them? Kind of a young team. I think they're probably playing over their heads a bit.
You're way ahead of me right now. I'm going to be honest with you. I haven't even thought that far ahead. We had a tough guy today to face, and we had the report on him. And I don't even know who we're facing. Nats are coming into town, like you said. We'll get ready tomorrow and start preparing game planning tomorrow.
Patrick Corbin's listed. What do you know about him?
Who?
Patrick Corbin. Seen him a few times.
My man. I've seen him. I gotta go into my notebook and see what what I got on him. But we're just gonna enjoy this serious week, this serious win that we had, and worry about the Nats and Patrick Corbin when they come to town.
Okay,
Manny.
I mean, the part I didn't like there wasn't the Nats Corbin part, because that's
I understand that the baseball season's so long that you don't even know, like, what's tomorrow?
Yeah,
tomorrow's what day?
He shouldn't be thinking on Sunday about who they're playing Monday. But the part where like the media is sending these narratives and all you guys is write this, and he's played that game for 6 years here. He gets away with it. I mean, we comment on it and critique it and honestly ridicule it, but he just gets away with it. I mean, he has done that to a T for 6 consecutive years. Nothing has changed with the way he speaks to the media, and there's a perfect example of it.
It's a tired act. It's a tired act by Manny. He knows what he's trying to do. He's pushing the buttons. He gets away with it, like you said.
Yeah,
it's a tired act, and he gets away with it because he has put up some pretty good numbers here. Like, he has produced, right? And so when you produce, it's almost like I can say and do whatever I want. And he has a vendetta against the media for whatever reason. Maybe it's because of the 2018 when he said the Johnny Hustle comment, and every single media member kind of jumped on him about it. And for whatever reason, he thinks that everybody here is out to get him. It's just kind of like, just go out and play well, bro. Just go, out there and put up numbers. And the less of Manny speaking, the better, honestly.
Honestly, I feel like he needs it because he needs fuel.
That's fine.
He do whatever needs to fuel his fire, honestly, because this isn't a one-off. This isn't he does it every season, multiple times, and he feeds off it. I just can sense it. He feeds off it. It's such an innocent question. Like, hey, why are you guys playing better at home? Oh, well, you say we're playing better at home. What about when we were playing poorly? What? It was just a question. Why? The job of the media is to ask questions. Your job is to produce. The job of the media is to ask questions. Yeah. That's literally the job. All right, on the other side, Dan Lang, MLB Network Radio. He covers the Nationals. He'll join us. We'll get into these Nats and the Padres, this 3-game series. Also, hit us up on the Talkback mic. How concerned are you about the injuries the Padres are facing? Hit us up on the Talkback mic. Open the iHeartRadio app, search for San Diego Sports 760, and tap that red Talkback mic. We'll play your 30-second responses later this hour. On the other side, Dan Lang, MLB Network Radio, will get us ready for Nats Padres Game 1 tonight. Stay with us on Jon and Jim. So are the Nationals the Padres' opponent this week ahead of schedule, so to speak, in the National League in 2024? Dan Lang covers the Nats for MLB Network Radio. He'll join us next.
This update is brought to you by Staples Stores. Padres start a 3-game series tonight with the Washington Nationals. Padres, after taking 3 of 4 from the first place Brewers over the weekend, are back to 500. Shocker. They're 41-41. Matt Waldron on the mound tonight for the Padres against Patrick Corbin for the Nationals. Lakers today introduced their newest head coach, JJ Redick. Tonight, Game 7 of Stanley Cup Final between the Edmonton Oilers and the Florida Panthers. Puck drops at 5 p.m. In local soccer news, the San Diego Wave today dismissed their head coach, Casey Stoney. Staples can print anything you need to move your business forward, like banners, flyers, signs, and catalogs, some even on the same day. And now at Staples, save up to $50 on your print purchases. Offer ends 7/6. Visit staples.com/print for details. Boost your business with Staples, your local print and marketing expert.
MLB Network Radio is with us. We have breaking Padres news. Fernando Tatis Jr. has been placed on the IL.
I didn't do that.
So it just happened literally 10 seconds ago. So Fernando Tatis Jr. will go on the IL. The Padres, we can't have nice things. Season continues at 41-41 overall. So Dan covers all of Major League Baseball for MLB Network Radio, also really knows the Nationals. He lives in D.C. But Dan, I want to start with the Padres because you've been witnessing what's played out here. All these injuries with Bogarts and Musgrove, Darvish, now Tatis on the IL. What do you make of the Padres 41-41 overall and dealing with all these injuries seemingly all season long? And thanks for hopping on.
Sure. It's been a frustrating year. I mean, you just laid it out for the Padres. Obviously, big expectations again coming in to this season with the names that you just listed on the roster, and a lot of the big names aren't there to produce on a consistent basis. And, you talk about Tatis, hadn't played since Friday, and I guess you just said that Schilt announced that he's going on the IL.
Yeah.
Earlier today, he was on our air, and it kind of seemed like that's where he was going. He was kind of hedging and saying that they were having internal discussions and they were going to revisit it later today. And, you could kind of read between the lines there and figure that was probably the angle they were going to go. So interesting that, you said just a few minutes ago that he announced that Tatis is going to be put on the shelf. And, he's obviously battled a lot of stuff, but boy, that's a big one. You look at a top 10 guy in baseball when it comes to OPS, and you subtract him from that lineup, and that's just another issue. And that's frustrating. That's frustrating.
How would you describe the Padres' first half? Disappointing, not disappointing, right where you think they were supposed to be coming into the season?
I'd say disappointing, right? I mean, if you're looking at where you thought they would be coming into the season, and you're looking now, I'd say disappointing. Now, with the players they've had active when they've had them for the amount of time they've had them, I guess you would say okay, right? I mean, I guess you'd say that they've had a decent season to this point. I mean, what would you guys say with your finger on the pulse out there? Would you agree with that earlier this year, spring training, getting into the season, yes, this team is ready to roll and should be really good, but then you subtract these pieces and now you're kind of like, all right, I mean, with what they've played with, okay, it's fine. You're kind of treading water here. You're still in the mix. I mean, 500 this year, when you look at the standings and you look at baseball and you look at the wild card, which, we're already doing in June, there really are only a few teams that are out of it, and the Padres are not one of those.
Yeah, no, I think what you said is probably accurate. I think there's a lot of people here that thought they should put themselves in a position where, well, it was basically like you have to make the postseason. You got a 10th-year GM and AJ Preller. You had a disappointing year a year ago. So you got to win 80-something games, 85 to 90 games. Now, that might be a bit of a stretch with 80 games to play with the injuries. But like you said, 81, 82, 83 might be enough. So Dan Lang, MLB Network Radio, with us right now on Jon and Jim. Let's talk about these Nationals. Do you see it as ahead of schedule, so to speak, 38-39 overall and in contention, just like the Padres in the National League?
I mean, again, you look at certain pieces and they come out, you can say yes. You look at, CJ Abrams and what he's been able to do, hitting about 270 or so, double digits in home runs. He likes to put the ball in the air. Might be nice to kind of see him put it on the ground a little more and spray the ball a little bit more. I think he gets enamored with looking for the power side of things. I mean, he has an OPS of over 800, so it's not like he's not successful, but he has a ton of speed, and it might be kind of nice to see him angle some of that out. I mean, the Nationals in the stolen base department are one of the better teams in baseball. When you talk about where they're at in the rebuild process, I'd say they're probably where they thought they'd be. There's obviously there's a lot of pieces in the minor leagues that they're still waiting on to come up. I don't think anyone thought that this is going to be a year that they're going to contend. So in that regard, right now you sit there and go, yeah, they're right there as far as the wild card situation goes. But I thought it was interesting a couple of weeks ago in talking to Steve Phillips, the former big league GM that's one of our co-hosts on MLB Network Radio. And he said, you have to look at so many things when you're a GM and deciding when the trade deadline approaches as to whether or not you're buyers or sellers and when to start talking and all that. You can't just look at a record and where you're at right then. You have to look at, the teams that you're playing, how well you're playing at the deadline. Do you feel some momentum's there? Like if you look at the Padres, you're getting guys off the IL ready to go and you're treading water. Well, then maybe you go out and add a couple pieces. As far as the Nationals go, I can't really see them being a team that's going to go out and, add a piece or two. I just don't see that, but who knows? I mean, weirder things have happened. There's teams that have come out of nowhere and been successful. I mean, the Diamondbacks last year, people mumbling around about maybe the Pirates could be that team this year that you sort of look at and go, because they're pitching. The Buccos pitching has been incredible.
For you on a national scale, how impressive has Jackson Merrill been to you with what he's done this season so far?
I think he's been really fun to watch. I think, it's really been interesting how he's been able to take in what the other guys have, from what I understand, and I have not yet been in the Nationals clubhouse. They haven't come through either DC or Baltimore. But he thirsts for knowledge, right? He's not one of these guys that just kind of comes up and thinks he has it all together. He wants to learn. He wants to know what's going on. And, I'm impressed. I think what he's been doing is very eye popping and is pretty interesting.
So Dan Lang, MLB Network Radio with us right now, Jon and Jim, San Diego Sports 760. I know we're like a month out from the trade deadline. Anytime you think about the Padres and AJ Preller, you're always thinking about like big game hunting, blockbuster moves. Even this year already, Dylan Cease before the season, Luis Arraez kind of out of nowhere very early in the season. If the Padres stay where they are, right, just kind of hanging around 500, up a game, back a game, are you expecting maybe something sizable from them again, considering all the injuries they're dealing with?
Why not?
Yeah. Yep.
I mean that's the AJ Preller way, and about the time, you look at it and maybe go, maybe this isn't the right time. That's when you sit there and go, oh shoot, what did he just do?
Mm-hmm.
Hold on, wait, what? So yeah, I do think that, and again, with the amount of money the Padres have spent, and obviously it's down from what it was a year ago, but the amount of money they've spent and the pressures that you say could be there for Preller and, Schultz in his first year. But with the uncertainty surrounding the Padres ownership and all of that stuff, you sit there and can kind of go, yeah, I could see them making another move or two. How he puts it together, that's what's always fascinating, right? Is what he gets back and how he maneuvers the money around. He's a fascinating general manager to watch. And, look, the Luis Arraez move, I mean, I love seeing him in a Padres uniform, and I love what he's been able to bring to San Diego. And he's one of those guys that likes to spray the ball around and, isn't a big power guy. And he's fun to watch. He's old school, which I like. I like to see a player use the entire field instead of just deciding to take batting practice during a game and always looking at launch angle and exit velo. I like the fact that he's able to adjust in that bat here and there. So, you look at that and you go, okay, I mean, that was an interesting pickup that he made, and he's been really good with the Padres. And he's been able to help the Padres stay where they are because of the success that he's had. So, yeah, I would, if I were a betting man and they're right where they are and they're, in the mix or in a wild card spot or a game or two from it, yeah, I wouldn't be shocked if Preller went out and made a move or two. Why not?
Is Garrett Crochet the biggest name on, your mind that could get traded at the trade deadline, or is there other names bigger than that could potentially be moved here coming up at the trade deadline this year?
I mean, that's probably the biggest name, and the interesting thing about him is the added years of control that he brings. And when you bring him up, he's probably going to, because of those added years of control, he's going to be a guy that they're going to want a premium for. The White Sox are going to want a lot of extra prospects and situations for. So that's something where, the Padres, how many prospects do they really have that they're willing to move? How many guys that are low in their system and how many guys that are right around the go time here? I think that might be a push for the Padres to try to get a Garrett Crochet. But again, when you look at Preller, he's so creative that I wouldn't put it past him. And, maybe you add another team in there, with there being so many teams in the mix for a postseason spot as we talk right now, that maybe it's not just a White Sox and Padres deal, but it ends up being a three team swap or so.
Yeah, it's a good point, because you only have a handful of teams that won't be going for it with the expanded wild card and with the state of the National League. Dan, always appreciate it, my friend. Again, Dan Lang, anchor with MLB Network Radio, Sirius XM Sports. Appreciate the time as always, Dan. We'll do it again later this summer. Thank you.
Yep, sounds good.
All right, great stuff. So Tatis was the first shoe to drop. The more expected shoe was what Kevin reported yesterday, which is, Darvish didn't throw a bullpen. And if you don't throw bullpens, you don't start. So he's on the IL. He's going to stay on the IL. The issue is it's being deemed a little bit of elbow inflammation or slight elbow inflammation. We had not heard that before. It was a groin. Now it's an elbow. That's a massive concern for the Padres.
Little ouchie?
Yeah. It's turning into an oh-no's. And it's not just Darvish. It's what's going on with Tatis. There is interesting information that's coming out about Tatis and his quad injury that I think you should consider it a little more serious than it is.
Well, this is all very serious. 41-41, but dealing with injuries seemingly everywhere. We'll react to that on the other side. The latest with Tatis, the latest with Darvish. 6 players involved in moves today for the Padres. We'll share those with you on the other side. It's Jon and Jim. All right, tons of breaking Padres injury news we will share with you on the other side. All right, so here are the moves. Grab a pen and paper.
We have enough time.
Here's the moves.
We only have 2 hours left of the show.
Here are the moves. And this move doesn't include you, Darvish, who is not pitching tomorrow because of elbow inflammation. The worst words you can hear regarding a pitcher. So Tatis is on the IL. Stress reaction. We'll get into it. Okay. They've selected the contract of outfielder Bryce Johnson. Supposedly he's in the lineup tonight. They have recalled Adam Mazur, who is not pitching well here. He's back because Darvish isn't pitching tomorrow. They have recalled Eggy Rosario from AAA El Paso. They have optioned Johnny Brito, supposedly to stretch him out to start, which seemingly actually makes sense considering the spot they're in. And then they've also optioned Jose Azocar because he just hasn't been doing anything recently in terms of productivity. So Tatis IL, Darvish isn't coming off the IL. Those are the big moves. And the other significant move is Adam Mazur is likely to start tomorrow for the Padres in Game 2 of the series against the Nationals.
What's more concerning? What's more concerning to you?
Darvish.
Yeah.
I mean, they'll get Tatis back. Now, Schulte's saying he doesn't know the timetable. It might be before the All-Star break. There's 17 games. It might be after the All-Star break. Remember, he's never played more than 141 games in the season. He likely won't do it again this year, would be my guess, by going on the IL.
So it sounds like I'm not a doctor.
What?
Well, you're not.
Oh,
I know.
come on.
Crazy, right? I have to go to WebMD.
There's other doctors that haven't read a complete book before.
I'm sure there's one out there.
Yeah.
Maybe. But when I
They're
hear
in jail.
stress,
They read all about the treatment, but then they stop reading before they get to the cure.
stress reaction, I'm like,
Not stress fracture.
not stress fracture, but it feels like stress reactions like before the stress fracture. Like it's
That's
Well, dude,
stress reaction.
wait,
like
have you
leading
read-
up to the stress fracture.
Have you read that? I mean, is that accurate?
A bone stress injury, an overuse injury associated with repeated loading of bone by strenuous weight-bearing activities such as running, jogging, marching, and inadequate recovery periods.
Yeah. That would make sense. Plays every day, plays hard.
Right. It's like a bone thing, so it's not a muscle thing, is
Correct.
what I'm getting at here. Because I
Correct.
thought it was a muscle thing, but this is now going to the bone.
So it's a reaction to whatever. I don't know the name of even this bone, but like quad, high leg reaction in the bone, quad, whatever bone this is.
Your leg,
femur.
Oh,
but no, it's not because they use a different term. But
yeah, I don't really know.
But it's a reaction there. Okay, here's the thing.
Not great.
But if
not great.
The thing with Tatis though is he doesn't pitch with his elbow. So I'm going to make this assumption.
But he runs.
I'm going to make this assumption that the Darvish thing is more concerning for the Padres than Tatis, because Tatis, yes, he's going on the IL. He's been playing with this for weeks on end. For weeks on end, we've been watching him deal with this.
Yeah.
So I think this is, hey, let's rectify it. Let's deal with it. We're going to need him. Okay. Darvish is on the IL all the time, is 37, and now has a little bit of elbow inflammation. Massive.
A little.
Massive concern. So you have that elbow, you have the Musgrove elbow, and if you're AJ Preller, you need to go get starting pitching.
Let's run a little elbow inflammation through the Padres lie detector injury test here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that comes out to usually amputation of the arm.
Right. Never seen from again. Yeah.
Anytime. And this happened the first time with Joe. And I was like, anytime a pitcher in this organization has a little bit of anything involving their elbow or shoulder, that is a moment. That is not a little ouchie. That turns into a big
Yeah, it could be. I mean, I'm not listen, when I hear something like that, I don't think that's even hiding from anyone. You use the elbow inflammation in there. If you follow baseball, you know elbow inflammation can lead to guys being shut down. It can lead to everything. It can lead to all kinds of missed time. He's been dealing with stuff. So, I mean, they put that out there. It's elbow. That's concerning.
It's all concerning. Now, the great thing about this, maybe if you want to say great, I don't know, good, whatever, is that, like we've been talking about, the bar in the National League has been so low this year that if you just get to a certain point, you feel pretty good about yourselves as long as you don't create this hole for you. And truthfully, whenever it feels like this team is about to create a ditch that they can't climb out of, they immediately go on a good stretch of baseball. They win like 4 of 5 or whatever, 5 of 6. They can't get to that 5-game winning streak, but they sure as hell can get that 4-game winning streak a lot after they have 5-game losing streaks or getting swept or whatever the case may be. They're really good at bouncing back from those, and they really haven't had Darvish throughout the most of the season.
Yeah.
Tatis, that's a big loss for right now.
Yeah.
It's a big loss because then when you're replacing Tatis with
Bryce freaking
Johnson and David Peralta, that's a problem. And you're also dealing with, on the other side of the outfield, Jerkson Profar, who at any moment his knee locks up on him and he has to be taken out of games.
Good news is he keeps producing. He's like a hit in as well. The Profar thing's a whole different thing because he's been productive.
That seems like a manageable injury.
Yeah, exactly. But, and someone just put this on the text line, it's a great point. Like, how much money do you have tied up right now on the IL? Bogarts,
Tatis,
Darvish, Musgrove. I mean, think about that. The combined contracts.
Let's look at just the yearly salary. You got 20 for Joe. You got what? 16, 17 for Darvish.
So 37.
You got 30 for Toddy.
So it's a little less.
Close.
65 now.
And then 26 for
so
Sanders.
81 in those 4 players. Your payroll is 155. Half of your payroll in 4 players is on the IL. So it's very concerning. But I would say this, to your point, they're in a National League where they don't need to go on the run tomorrow. They don't need to play 700 baseball tomorrow. They just need to hang around. And they've been able to do it to this point. Dealing with injuries, can they continue to do it? They're heavy favorites tonight. We'll see if that pans out or not with Matt Waldron on the mound. I don't think, my point is this. American League, panic time with these injuries. National League, I don't think it's panic time.
Not great.
It's not great at all.
I'm close.
But it's not panic time.
I'm close to panic time on Darvish.
Oh, individuals you can panic on.
Yeah.
I have no clue if Darvish must go.
Team-wise?
Team-wise, I don't think this changes their ability to, with the trade deadline, contend for a playoff spot.
And I know he's dealing with injuries too, and he has loved to tell everybody about it and whatever the case may be. But this is a moment in this season where Manny Machado has to really step up. Would you agree?
Yeah, I mean, they could use him. Again, you mentioned earlier, he's been good. He hasn't been
warm.
On fire.
He's warm.
But yeah, he's been good. He needs to show more power, and we'll see if that
and frankly,
comes or not.
it's not like you look at this lineup. Again, it's not going to look the same without Tatis in it and Xander, if Xander ever hit with this team. But you have Jackson Merrill, who's been on a heater. You have Jake Cronenworth, who's been hot. You have Luis Rise, who's a walking 300 hitter. You have Jerkson Profar in there, who's going to be an all-star. You have Manny Machado, if Manny Machado can never get it together. I mean,
They should have enough.
like you should have enough here to get you to a point where you either make a move or you get these guys back.
Yeah, you should have enough to try to water. By the way, Machado last 32 games, 812 OPS. So he's been good. He hasn't been great, but he's been good over the last 32 games. By the way, he's at 322 over those 32 games. All right, further reaction to all of these injuries. Can the Padres overcome them or not? 877-767-4760 if you want to weigh in. 877-767-4760 if you want to weigh in. Plus, in the 4 o'clock hour, your chance to win a pair of tickets to see New Kids on the Block July 7th at the North Island Credit Union Amphitheater. Padres getting set for the Nats and dealing with more injuries. Next on Jon and Jim. All right, here we go. Boys and girls.
Jr., though, is going on the IL. Selected the contract of outfielder Bryce Johnson. They've also recalled Eggy Rosario from AAA El Paso. They've optioned Johnny Brito.
All right, San Diego and Southern California, what's going on? It's hour 2 of Jon and Jim. We are with you until 6 p.m. We're reacting to the news that IL Darvish isn't coming off the IL. He has elbow inflammation, and Fernando Tatis Jr. is going on the IL with a stress reaction in the quad. We want your reaction. Can the Padres overcome these injuries or not? Padres fans, 877-767-4760 or text us, 70470. Start it with team. I'm thinking this, Jim, as we get set for a second hour, and we have new kids on the block tickets to give away this hour. Yay. All's fine.
Everything's fine,
The
guys.
Darvish and Tatis thing is fine. We have
Totally
new kids on the
fine.
block ticket.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking about this. It's funny how sports work so quickly. We started last year with the big four,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. I know where you're going with this.
You got like a half healthy Manny Machado among that group right now. Now you do have the opposite side of the coin, like you've talked about. Profar, they got a rise here. They have Cronenworth.
Merrill.
Like they got Merrill. We didn't even know who he was essentially to start last year. But man, it looks different from the big four of last season to Tatis on the IL, Bogey already there. You don't have Soto, and you got a Manny Machado that hasn't been the same power hitter that he's been previously in his career, and that's the state of the Padres right now, heading into the series against Washington tonight.
If you want to, and by you I mean the Padres.
Me?
No, not you.
Okay.
If the Padres want to consider themselves a good baseball team, you got to find a way to overcome these injuries. You just have to. The Dodgers have had a bunch of injuries, and guess what? They're still winning.
But
what?
Exactly. They're the Dodgers. Nobody said going into the year they were anywhere near the same stratosphere.
What I am saying, and my point is, the Dodgers you would consider a good team, correct?
Yeah, really good.
The Braves, they lost Ronald Acuna to an ACL tear. Do you consider them a good team?
They are a good team. I don't know if they've lived up to their full expectations. Same thing with LA, probably.
Probably.
Yep.
The Phillies lost JT Realmuto.
Yeah, a week ago.
What I'm saying is, if the Padres are walking around, as Schulte loves to do, to say that they are a good baseball team, guess what good baseball teams do? They overcome injuries.
But is there a strong... I'm with you, but is there a point, and I don't know if it's now or if it's even going to happen, is there a point where like, this is too much?
Yeah, when your rotation consists of, if this were to happen, because he just got sent down, if your rotation is Johnny Brito, Adam Major, Randy Vasquez, so-and-so, then that's when it's DEFCON 1. And that's exactly what happened in 2021. Although that season was going downhill before all the injuries really kicked into gear.
True.
But this team, I don't feel like they're at that point where it's DEFCON 1 for the injuries. It's a lot. Don't get me wrong. It's not great because the guys that are still out there got some issues going on with themselves as well, like Profar and Manny. And maybe even Arise. I don't really know. He hasn't been, I feel like the same.
He's been good, but not perfect.
But you got to overcome.
Yeah, I'm with you. But like, to be fair, and we're critical, to be fair, if you told me to start the season on June 24th, Darvish, Musgrove, Bogey, Toddy, all on the IL at the same time, I'd say that's a big factor.
But then if I told you that, record aside, I don't really care at this moment in time. But if I told you, Jon, they are currently in the playoffs right now.
Right.
You'd be like, oh,
okay. I'd be pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, and record aside, I wouldn't tell you the record. I wouldn't tell you anything. Like, hey, they own a playoff spot. I think you might say I would take that, considering how many injuries this team has accumulated, not also knowing that they are the definition of average, which is a 500 team, but still 500 is good for the lowest bar in the National League, or the low bar that's in the National League, which is the 6th and final wild card spot.
Does it change the conversation about, they got in, but they had 82 wins?
I do think it could change the narrative a little bit because I think this is on the wrap-up show the other night. When a team overcomes injuries and they still win, I feel like those teams are more endearing to a fan base than the other way around, when it's like the super teams and like they're dealing with no adversity and they just plow through everybody and they just win 110 games. I'm not saying the Padres would win 110 games.
But are they still winning?
Well, if they do,
if they go 82-80 and deal with their injuries and secure the 6th seed, are you gonna be like, man, that was really remarkable that they got to 82-80?
I'll say that they still underachieved from what they've done in the first half of the season, because that still is not good enough. It's not at least what I think a lot of people expected to see, having multiple 5-game losing streaks, getting swept 3 times by low last place teams.
Yep.
Like, all of it's not great. But if you can overcome these injuries and win some baseball games here and play better baseball at a consistent level, I do feel like as a fan, you are more endeared to that team and you kind of relate to me.
No,
I feel
it's fair. It's just like this whole consistency conversation is 82-80 showing you any level of, if you, like you just said, if you can win consistently despite injuries, overcome them. Is it winning consistently if they win half of their games from here on out?
Well, I can
get to the postseason.
They got to get to like 85 wins for me. 84 wins.
I mean, just sheer math at 85 is 8 games over.
Okay.
So if they get to 8 games over, I said this last night on the wrap-up show, if they get to 8 games over or 10 games over dealing with this, then Manny Machado will get to the back of his baseball card. Then he will hit his 30 home runs and drive in his 95 runs. And it'll be an amazing half.
That's why it's very important for Manny to now replicate his July that he had last year, which was a great July for him. I think he had well over 1,000
great July
OPS.
for everyone.
It was. Ha-Seong Kim shot out like a rocket. The team went 15-10. Manny had 11 home runs and over 1,000 OPS. You're going to need you're going to need Manny to be Manny here. They can't afford, with Tatis out, who knows how long he's going to be out for, who knows how long Bogarts is out for. Manny's got to be Manny.
This honestly doesn't sound that bad. Here's the lineup.
I know.
It doesn't sound, because again, credit to Preller for going out and getting Arise before this. But Arise leads off. Profar in left bats second. Machado hits third at third. Cronenworth cleans up at second. Solano DH. Merrill in center bats eighth. Kim, the shortstop, bats seventh. Higashioka. Did I miss someone? Higashioka bats ninth.
No, Bryce Johnson's batting ninth.
Bryce Johnson. Thank you. Bryce Johnson bats ninth. So, the bottom of it, Kim, Higashioka, Johnson, not ideal, but
no.
Top 6, Arise, Profar, Machado, Cronenworth, Solano, Merrill. You can win games with that, I think.
I would hope you win games with that, because if you can't win games with that, that's a problem.
Well, then they have a problem.
Yeah, that's a problem. Because then it's like, whoa, Tatis really meant so much to this team, or whatever the case may be. It's not, you're right. The lineup does not sound as bad as some people might think it is. Now, just the list of actions and moves they had today takes forever to read. But the lineup isn't like the worst thing in the world, honestly.
No.
It's the pitching staff and it's the bullpen where you're like, this is going to have to be patchworked together for the time being until we can get some guys back, or Preller goes out and makes a YOLO trade.
So the report on Tatis is he'll return when the bone heals. A stress reaction. There are 17 games until the All-Star break. Then there's 4 days off. So he would have 3+ weeks if he doesn't return until after the All-Star break. The quickest he could return is just over a week, because there's a 10-day IL, and he's now missed the last 3 days. So he could return July 2nd, I think, or they could put it off until after the All-Star break? Is it contingent on how the team's playing? Is it contingent on how he's healing? I mean, this is the one thing with Tatis, and he's top 3 in All-Star game voting. By the way, he's not starting the All-Star game, presumably now.
No.
But forget about that for a second.
More important things.
More important things are he's been a very productive player. Maybe not to his career standard, but he's been a very productive player. The one knock on him, though, from day one is he's never been healthy for a full year. You can still say it. I mean, again, baseball's changed where you don't have to play 157. Like, that's not a prerequisite to be great. You can play 149 and be great. He's never played more than 141, and he's gotten a lot of productivity out of fewer games. But here he goes again. And again, I just told you there's 17 games until the All-Star break. If he does sit out until then, he's not playing more than 140 again this year. Like, it just seems like his whole career, there's always something.
Well, I didn't truly think about it all last year as injury stuff because he played the entire season. He didn't go one. He did not go in the IL one time, if I'm not mistaken.
So this was the year after the suspension, 2023?
Yeah, last year.
Yeah, so but he only played 141 games.
Did he go on the IL?
Someone remind me why he only played 141 games.
Because he got suspended, John. Because he was serving.
So he missed the first 20 games. That's
Yeah.
what I was saying. Okay, yes. But again, that's part of the story. Yeah, he was quote unquote
is.
healthy, but he missed 20 games. And he, I mean,
Still
does that
didn't
not count?
It still didn't go in the IL.
No, great. And he didn't in 2020. He played all 60 games.
Correct. But it needs to happen. He needs to be out there more. The conversation going into 2023 before the season was, can he play a full year without getting injured and going on the IL?
Right.
That was the conversation. Then
And he did that a year ago.
He did that a year ago. Now, this year, he goes back on the IL. It is something that has followed him. We haven't really talked about it much because last year there was an entire season without him going on the IL one time, which was great for him. But you can't just have one season of not going on the IL and everything's fine. You need to put those back to back to back to back and not go on the IL. Or if you're going to miss some time, don't miss a bunch of time. Like, you can go on the IL, but you can't miss like a month or a month and a half. Then that's when you start looking at it like, hey, this guy, he just can't stay healthy.
Plus, and you're right, but whether it's health or not, let me say this about 2023. I'm not giving him the benefit. The 20 games he missed because of the 80 game suspension are on him. So he didn't play 162 because of him, whatever the circumstances were. And then last September, yes, he was quote unquote healthy. The wheels fell off for Fernando Tatis Jr. last year. He did absolutely nothing down the stretch of the season. So that's the one thing. Like, it's like when we qualify fighters, like he's the best pound for pound fighter, or he's the best basketball player under 6 feet, or like Tatis is the most productive player per game in modern baseball history. Yeah, but the problem is he's missed so many games over a 6-year career.
That's so many.
80 games I missed basically 80 games as a rookie.
Yep.
He missed an entire season plus at one point. He had injuries. I mean, he's just had, again, it's just followed him. For whatever it's worth, I'm just saying it's followed him. Whether it's fair or not, I'm not the only one saying it. It's just truthful. The narrative out there is A, he's been suspended for steroids, and B, he's never fully been healthy.
It's a thing that at the end of his career, people are going to look at like, man, that's a player who should have
Hit
had
500 home runs.
way better numbers and way more of this and way more of that, but he just couldn't stay healthy. And that's the worst part about the whole thing is when you look at a guy and you talk about a guy, you're like, man, that guy was an amazing talent. Just couldn't stay healthy. It's like, oh, that just sucks to hear, but it's true. And hopefully, whenever Tatis gets back from this is the last time that we're going to be talking about this. Well, I'm sure we'll be talking about it. But the last time that he goes on the IL, the remainder of the season, they're just going to have to manage it. And if they have him have a couple days off here and there, that's totally fine.
Look at it this way. He's played 494 career games, Jim.
That's nothing.
And he's hit 120 home runs. If this guy was fully healthy, like Manny Machado, I know he had the knee, but like Juan Soto through age 25.
Yeah.
If he was Juan Soto through age 25, you would give him, and by the way, he had the pandemic season. Like in the history of baseball, he's thrown away so many games, a full season. The pandemic season's not his fault. His first season, he misses 80 games, but you know what I mean? Like there's a couple hundred games in there. This guy should have hit 200 home runs through age 25.
So how many games has he played?
494, and he's hit 120 home runs.
Now, if my math is correct, probably not.
Every 4 games.
790 total games that he has been eligible since he got called up in 2019.
It's probably not right because of the 2020
But
season.
I added 60. So if we go 162 times 2019, 21, 22, 23 times 4. All right.
What's 162 times 4?
648. And then you go 60 game season there.
Yeah.
And then how many games this year they played? 82?
Yes.
790.
So he's been eligible
For
790 and he's played 494.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not good.
Nope.
Like, that's not absurd when you consider. I mean, he missed a full season.
But John, you're going on. I mean,
I agree.
2 seasons away from 1,000 games, and he might be only played in 60% of them.
So wait, you said 700. He's basically eligible for 800 games. Because my point is valid here that if he was healthy for his entire normal career, he would have hit 200 home runs through age 25. He'd be like on pace for like a 600 home run career.
Yeah.
And again, that's for another day. But this guy's going to be lucky to get to like 400 because again, I don't want to say at the end of his career, man, this guy was unbelievable, but he just never stayed healthy. And I don't know if we're saying that right now or not.
Like, let's just say he played 140 games for the 4 full seasons that he's been eligible. Okay. Plus he played all 60 for that one season. And then this year, 78 games.
Well, he's played 80, so you could just say 80.
Okay. 80. So that's 700.
Yeah, he's at 494.
He's at 494. And that's being generous of saying only 140 games a season. It's now the conversation again, unfortunately, and it sucks.
I know. I agree with you. And it's like the one thing I do give credit to Manny. Like I rip him for not quote unquote hustling or running things out, but I also credit him. And I'm not saying play if you got broken ankles,
right? Yeah.
But like I do give him credit because the way to really be good in this sport is you got to compile. I don't know if you have to post, but to be considered one of the greats, you got to look up and be like, wow, this guy's got a couple thousand hits. Wow, this guy's got 400 home runs. You can't say at the end of the day, if Fernando Tatis Jr. has, making it up, 1,900 hits and 299 home runs, he was one of the all-time greats. You can't do that. You might, well, he was amazing when he played. Yeah, but what about when he didn't play?
Yeah, no, Manny, I feel like there's a difference between posting and producing instead of
that's true.
Like posting to me means like going out there and playing every day, right?
Yeah.
Producing's different. Like a guy can go out there and play 150 games a season, but he can still suck.
True.
Right? Like, oh, I post.
But that's not typically
you don't produce.
It's not like he's sucked in some of these seasons that he's battled injuries.
Oh, no. Some of these seasons that Manny's had in the time here as a Padre is like
good.
Would be like Tyler Wade's like all-time dream to have those types of seasons. Like
30 home runs.
Yeah. Manny's worst year is what Tyler Wade dreams about every single night of having, which he'll never attain ever. Sorry, Tyler. But just facts, okay?
Right.
And Manny's at a different standard, though, than Tyler Wade. Manny's standard is greater sometimes than what his average seasons are, right? And he goes out there, and he more often than not, he does produce, and he does, quote-unquote, post. And that's why this year has been so difficult, because he's, quote-unquote, posting, but he's not producing, which I think is 2 different things.
Yeah, I agree with that. I completely agree. I mean, it is interesting how you have Machado's time in San Diego, and it's been a roller coaster.
Oh, yeah.
But by and large, he's been on the field.
Yeah.
By and large. And then you've got Tatis' time, which has been this like, he's been like a shooting star. Like,
oh, that's cool. Oh, wait, he's gone now.
Yeah, like there's been there's been these moments. Also, the one thing about Tatis, and the only reason I'm harping on right now is he's going on the IL. The Tatis we saw in 2019 and 20, that exuberant, energetic, boisterous, all smile, first to third on everything, tagging up from second and scoring player. And maybe it's because of health. Yeah. I have not seen that player since the suspension in any regard.
No, he's not. Even during his 17-game hitting streak, he did not have those amazing, scored from second on a pop-up to like shallow left.
And again, that's if that's the quad, that's the quad. If that's the quad, I get it. But even a year ago, like we didn't see that excitable, boisterous, I'm going to go steal bags, right? Like he's a different player. Yeah, he's a great player.
The second half
is different.
Not good at all.
On the other side, let's get to the wrap. Plus, this hour, your chance to win a pair of tickets to see New Kids on the Block July 7th at the North Island Credit Union Amphitheater. We continue to react. Darvish is not coming off the IL. He's got elbow inflammation. Fernando Tatis Jr. is going on the IL with a stress reaction.
But other than that, everything's great.
All right, stay with us. All right, continued reaction to Fernando Tatis Jr. being placed on the IL by the Padres, plus New Kids on the Block tickets. We'll give them away this hour.
All right, this update is brought to you by Staples Stores. Padres start a 3-game series with the Washington Nationals tonight at Petco Park. 6:40 first pitch. Matt Waldron on the mound for the Padres against Patrick Corbin for the Nationals. Padres have made a bunch of roster moves today. They placed Fernando Tatis Jr. on the 10-day IL with a right stress reaction to his quad area. They selected the contract of Bryce Johnson. He's in tonight's lineup. They recalled Adam Major and Eggy Rosario from AAA, and they optioned Johnny Brito and Jose Azocar to El Paso. Adam Major is back up because IL Darvish is dealing with a little ouchie in his elbow. He's not expected to make his start tomorrow. He's going to remain on the IL. Staples can print anything you need to move your business forward, like banners, flyers, signs, and catalogs, some even on the same day. Now at Staples, save up to $50 on your print purchase. Offer ends 7/6. Visit staples.com/print for details. Boost your business with Staples, your local print and marketing expert.
Real quick, Jim, before right? Because there's always going to be some Easter eggs in there. Like there's always more than what we first believe.
Yeah.
You know that.
It's like, read my article. I'll put more in there.
So Schilt said no timetable on Tatis. He likely will not return immediately when his 10 days are up. Okay, that's fine. And they says it could be out until after the All-Star break. Now listen to this. Normal healing for the injury, and now Jim Doctor might have gotten this right, which can also be referred to as a fracture that occurs when there is too much stress on a bone, is at least 6 weeks.
Oh,
so now this is Kevin writing that. Like they didn't say, the organization didn't say, hey, the normal healing process could be 6 weeks, but the organization's never going to say that.
No, never.
And then there's this on Darvish, right? Do we think it's serious? This is a direct quote from Schilt. Say no. Do we think it's serious? We don't. As with most of these things early on, there's optimism, but it's not blind. So we'll just continue to evaluate it, but we don't think it's going to be too much longer. So anyway, he's not starting in 5 days is the point.
Man, it is such a bummer because I feel like if those two guys were healthy, and by those two guys, I mean Darvish and Musgrove, it's hard to envision them still being 41-41, right? If they were healthy.
Yeah, and I would say that they'd get going at some point in the second half if they got healthy.
I mean, maybe Musgrove continues to pitch poorly like he was this year with a couple of good starts here and there. Like, I don't know. But also the two guys that you most recently gave contracts to in that rotation are completely MIA, completely, out of the picture.
Mm-hmm.
And your best ability is your availability. And they're making a lot of money and they're just nowhere to be found. And it's not only they're nowhere to be found, they're dealing with potentially significant arm injuries. That's the last thing you want if you just sign these guys to $100 million each.
Yeah, it's not good. I mean, it wasn't good when Darvish was on with the groin, and it wasn't good when Darvish was on with the back. But you're like, there's an explanation, and it doesn't have to do with his arm, so it's not a long-term injury.
As long as the arm was fine, I was linking all of those other injuries as like, okay, he's just old. They need to make sure they manage him so he does not have a hammy pop up or a neck or a back or but now you're telling me there's something wrong with his arm. There's a little ouchie there with the elbow. Yeah,
it's not great. Again, if you're Preller, you've got a lot of work to do between now and the trade deadline. You just do. All right, let's get to this. And on the other side, we're giving away new Kids on the Block tickets.
Who's going to win Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Final tonight?
Well, which of the games are you referring to? Stanley Cup?
Yeah. Game 7 of the Stanley Cup, John.
Oh, Game
Final.
7.
Yeah.
Okay. I think who do you think is going to win?
I think the Edmonton Oilers are going to win, which means congratulations to the Florida Panthers. Yeah.
I think Edmonton wins tonight. It's an amazing story. Canada hasn't had a team win a Stanley Cup since 93. Like, listen to this. It either is Florida's first ever Stanley Cup or the drought continues in Canada, right? It's like, no, you either have Florida winning a Stanley Cup or you have the greatest collapse in modern sport history.
Now, didn't Florida lose last year?
Yeah, they did, but
Yes.
not this way.
No.
Yeah.
I'm just saying they lost
They lost
last
the Stanley
year.
Cup.
Yeah. Man, it's going to be – I'm going to watch tonight just because playoff hockey is the most intense. It's the most fun to watch if you're going to watch a hockey game. And then you add on it's game 7. Oh, and then you add on this is for the cup. Like, dude, it's going to be a wild environment tonight in Florida.
So listen to this real quick. ESPN for Game 6 on a Friday did 4.2 million viewers, which I think is a good number. I got to think Game 7, correct me if I'm wrong, there's nothing else going on in sports. We have like Olympic track trials and swimming. But
College World Series. That's
give me a
it.
break. This should push 10 million, should it not?
I
Game
hope
7.
It should. Now,
It's
it probably
June 20,
won't.
whatever.
Probably won't, but it should.
Give me 10 million. Well, does it count Canada? The whole nation is watching.
No, it doesn't not count.
Yeah, well, they're all
Canada.
watching.
Yeah.
Next question.
Did the San Diego Wave make the right decision in firing their head coach today?
Yeah, what do you think, Jim? I know you've been watching.
There was outrage today on social
There
media.
was some outrage.
Yeah. Maybe you could call it little fake outrage. I don't know.
Oh, really?
I do.
I don't
mean,
know.
I'm not going to sit here and try to sound like an expert on the San Diego Wave, but again, guys, no one's there to like. I don't think anyone's banging on the desk like they needed to get rid of
No,
Casey Stoney.
That's a good point. Yeah, I didn't hear any of that.
like
they're not like winless, are they?
no.
They
but
had the best record in the league last year.
now they're not doing well. Alex Morgan has not played for a while. I don't think she's going to play
injury's an
for
excuse?
another for what?
Is that an excuse?
I'm just, I mean, you're going to fire your head coach and your best player, or at least your most popular player, isn't playing for you. Like, maybe there's something behind the scenes there. I don't know. It's kind of weird. But again, was anybody like really knocking on the door of Casey Stoney being like, you need to be fired now? Because I didn't see any of that.
So listen to this. There's 14 teams in the league. Okay. 8 of them will make the postseason, which is a good number, but it's very much like basketball and NHL, right? They're 1 point out of a playoff spot. They're not even at the halfway point of the season. So it wasn't like panic. They're the Padres. They're 41-41.
Yeah.
There's half the season to go. They maybe are in. They maybe are out. But it's not. They're not the worst team in the league. They're not close to the worst team in the league. They've been a below average team, but it wasn't. They were the best team in the league last year. So it is a little surprising from playoffs year 1. Best record in the league year 2, you're just out of a playoff spot, but you're not the worst team in the league, and you make a midseason
Weren't they
coaching change?
a game away from playing for the NWSL Cup?
Yeah, and
Here
they
in
won
San
whatever
Diego?
they call in the regular season,
The
though, they had
Shield.
more points than anyone else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, again, I don't know the particulars. Maybe
Yeah.
there's a reason.
But I do think there was maybe a little fake outrage from people on social media today. But also, again, was anybody that follows the Wave that are Wave fans?
Who do you want to see
Saying
them go
this?
after in 2025?
Next question, Brent.
Okay.
What grade would you give the Padres halfway through this point of the season?
I would give them exactly what they are, which is a C grade, which is average. I had a lot of C's in high school and college.
You did
and
that well?
I did that very well. So
You still managed to become a doctor.
I know how it is to be average when it comes to letter grades. But in sports, being average is not great.
Is it apologistic, which isn't a word?
What?
Is it like being an apologist if I say it's C+?
Yes.
Because I'll take into account the injuries. And every time I watch them, they look like the 27 Yankees, but they're 41-41. So it's kind of like they've had injuries, and seemingly they're better than a team last year that had Juan Soto and was healthier with Soto, Machado, Tatis, Bogarts. I want to give him a C+. It's not a great grade, but I'm willing to give him a C+. Next question.
What injury is most concerning for the Padres right now?
It to me, dude,
You're going to say Toddy now?
the more I hear about this stress reaction that is borderline like going on the stress fracture
I know, that's
path.
scary.
And dude.
Over Darvish?
I'm gonna say Tatis. I know I was Darvish like literally 30 minutes ago, but I'm changing my mind. I'm going to Tatis.
We had 20 minutes ago you said Darvish.
You know why?
No.
Because they've barely had Darvish this year at all. They've had Tatis through the whole season.
All right, I disagree, and here's why.
But they've had how many
How
many games did Darvish pitch?
11 starts, 56 in the third innings, which isn't nothing, but isn't the
It's
full
a good
season.
amount. Okay,
But hear me out. 2022, the last time they were good, he's the reason why. He's the big reason why, dude. He went 16-8 with a 3-1.
I know.
In 194 innings.
He was
And
amazing.
you put 2 and 2 together. How were they so good? He threw 200 innings.
I know.
So who's supplying those 200 innings for this team? Matt Waldron?
Can I say both then?
You can say both.
They're both very concerning to me.
They are concerning.
So-
All right. On the other side, who wants new Kids on the Block tickets? Let's cheer everyone up. Let's give away new Kids on the Block tickets. First 2 callers will be contestants for trivia. You need to call right now if you want 2 free tickets to see New Kids on the Block July 7th, next month, North Island Credit Union Amphitheater. Here's the number, 877-767-4760. Again, 877-767-4760. Great prize for trivia. Trainwreck Radio. New Kids on the Block tickets, July 7th, North Island Credit Union Amphitheater. Call right now, 877-767-4760. That's next. All right, Trainwreck Radio on the other side for New Kids on the Block tickets, plus further reaction to Fernando Tatis Jr. going on the IL next. Fernando Tatis Jr. has been placed on the IL. Stress reaction in the quad. We'll continue to react to that in the 5 o'clock hour. IL Darvish, elbow inflammation, will not start tomorrow for the Padres. The show goes on. We'll play game 1 of a 3-game series tonight. Good news is they have Matt Waldron, who has been among the better pitchers in the National League over the last 6+ weeks.
Where would this team be without Matt Waldron?
Right. And Jurickson Profar, Jackson Merrill,
and Jake Cronenworth.
Yep. The others, man.
The others are getting it done.
They've been led by the others.
Well, they have to be led by those guys.
Because everyone else is unavailable.
Because if those players weren't doing anything, this would be a dumpster fire right now. It really would. I mean, if Jackson Merrill didn't turn into basically Bryce Harper, if Jurickson Profar didn't put up the same production as Juan Soto, if Jake Cronenworth didn't have a bounce back season and finally live up to his potential, if Matt Waldron didn't turn into R.A. Dickey 2.0, you got some major problems.
They would have huge issues.
Yeah.
By the way, keep up with San Diego Sports 760 anytime, anywhere, whether you're stepping out of the car or settling in at home. Just ask your Google or Alexa smart speaker to play AM 760 or stream it live throughout the iHeartRadio app. It's never been easier to stay connected with your favorite shows like this one. San Diego Sports 760 goes where you go. Back to the injuries at 5 p.m. Right now, let's play.
All right, 3 questions, 2 contestants, 1 lifeline. Today's 2 contestants, we have Pete and Abraham. Pete, you called in first. You have your choice of John or Jim. Who do you want to go with?
Let's go with Jim.
All right. Pete is with me. That means Abraham, you're with John. Abraham, you good with that?
Let's do it. John, don't fail me. Let's go.
That's right.
All right. Love the enthusiasm. Brent, what is the question of the day?
All right, guys, the Padres open a series against the Nationals tonight. Today's question, can you name the top 10 home run hitters in Washington Nationals history? Now, reminder, the Washington Nationals used to be the Montreal Expos, so those stats carry over. So you'll see some. Well, it's not just for that, because there's going to be names on this list, and you're going to be like, that guy didn't play for them. So just keep that in mind, that the Nationals used to be the Expos, so those are included. So today's question, name the top 10 home run hitters in Nationals/Expos history.
All right, Abraham, you're up first. What is your first guess? You do have a lifeline if you choose to use it.
I'm going to go with the greatest Expo of all time, Vlad Guerrero.
Vlad Guerrero.
On the list? He is.
On the list.
Well done.
Pete, you're up next. What is your first guess? You do have a lifeline if you choose to use it.
Let's go with Mr. Nationals, Ryan Zimmerman.
Ryan Zimmerman. Great guess.
He's got to lead them, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Or maybe Vladdy.
Oh, one of them, top 2, I would say.
Zimmerman's 1, Vlad's 2.
Okay, there you go. Abraham, you're up next. What is your second guess? You do have a lifeline if you choose to use it.
Okay, I am going to go with the greatest Washington National, Bryce Harper.
Bryce Harper.
Good guess on the list.
There you go. Pete, back to you. What is your second guess? You do have a lifeline if you choose to use it.
I'm going to go old school. I'm going to go Hawk, Andre Dawson.
Andre Dawson.
Wow.
What a pull. Like it. Abraham, back to you. What is your final guess? You do have a lifeline if you want to use it.
Wow. I want to say Juan Soto, but I don't know. Let me use that white lifeline, please.
I was thinking Soto, and it scares me too.
Let's do it then.
Yeah, let's go Soto. I'll say Soto.
Let's go.
Wow.
All right, Pete, you need this to go to overtime. What is your final guess? You do have a lifeline if you want to use it.
I'll use my lifeline.
Yes. Mr. Expo himself.
Soto was my guess. All right. I want to say Jason Worth, but I'm not sure. But that's kind of all I have right now.
What about Abrams?
No, not CJ Abrams.
I'm not sure about Worth. I'm gonna go old school. I'm gonna say if Dawson. I know Gary Carter played there a number of years.
You want to take Gary Carter?
The only guys I remember from that. So yeah, let's go Carter.
Wow. Would Jason Worth have been on the list, Brent?
No.
Wow.
Good job, Pete.
Good call.
Never listen to me. All right.
Wow.
Brent, what is the rules of overtime in the question?
All right, guys, how overtime is going to work is I'm going to ask you a question. When I'm done asking the question, you're going to yell out the name of your partner today, either John or Jim. Don't yell out the answer. Whoever yells out the name of their partner first, you are going to win the game by getting the question right, or you're going to lose the game by getting the question wrong. Do you guys got it?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, guys. Today's overtime question. What team is hosting the Stanley Cup final tonight?
John,
All right. What
I
do you
heard
got,
John.
Abraham?
not the Oilers, but the Florida Panthers.
That is correct for the win. Abraham, congratulations in overtime with the win for a pair of tickets to see New Kids on the Block July 7th, North Island Credit Union Amphitheater. How about that? Not the Oilers, but the Florida Panthers. Who else is on this unbelievable list? Former Expos and Nats.
All right, Zimmerman's 1, Vlad's 2, Andre Dawson was 3, Gary Carter was 4, Tim Wallach was 5, Harper was 6. This is hard to believe considering how lazy he is and he doesn't play anymore. Anthony Rendon is number 7, Soto is number 8, Bob Bailey was 9, and then Jose Vidro was
Jose
number 10.
Vidro.
Yes.
And where was Jason Worth
He
on
was
this
13th.
list? 13th.
So it wasn't a crazy guess. It wasn't like
Not that
70th.
bad.
No,
or
it wasn't bad.
something.
Wasn't bad at
It
all.
wasn't like Adam Eaton or something.
No, it wasn't CJ Abrams
Correct. Yeah.
or whomever else they
It wasn't.
acquired in
I
that
didn't say
trade.
James Wood.
Yeah, exactly. He hasn't even appeared in the big leagues. All right. On the other side, we're going to get back to the injury bug biting the Padres in a serious way right now. Tatis is going on the IL. Darvish was supposed to make a start tomorrow. He will not because of elbow inflammation. A series of moves made by the Padres within the last hour or so. Can they overcome it as they get set for game 1 of this 3-game series against the Nationals tonight at 6:40? It's hour 3 of Jon and Jim, and it comes your way next.
This update is brought to you by Staples Stores. Padres start a 3-game series with the Nationals tonight. 6:40 first pitch. Matt Waldron on the mound for the Padres. They've made a bunch of moves today. Fernando Tatis Jr. going on the IL. They selected the contract of Bryce Johnson. He's in the starting lineup tonight. They recalled Adam Major and Iggy Rosario. They also optioned Johnny Brito and Jose Azocar. Lakers today introduced their newest head coach, JJ Redick. And staying here locally with soccer news, the San Diego Wave today announced that they have parted ways with their head coach, Casey Stoney. Staples can print anything you need to move your business forward, like banners, flyers, signs, and catalogs, some even sent on the same day. And now at Staples, save up to $50 on your print purchases. Offer ends 7/6. Visit staples.com/print for details. Boost your business with Staples, your local print and marketing expert.
All right, San Diego and Southern California, what's going on? This is the final hour of Jon and Jim. And oh, by the way, we have another pair of tickets to give away to New Kids on the Block. Breaking news. And we will do that this hour. Yeah, if you say breaking news not on the radio, you can't hear it on the radio.
I forgot.
Like when I drive home in my car and I start singing, it's not on the radio because my mic's not on. So like when I'm in the shower, I'm not on the radio. Because the mic's not on.
Probably a good thing, because if the mic was on in the shower, then you might get electrocuted.
True. So the Padres are dealing with injuries, right?
Really?
IL Darvish isn't coming off the IL. We learned today, elbow inflammation. Not encouraging. Fernando Tatis Jr. goes on the IL. Stress reaction. Some would say stress fracture. Could be weeks that he'll need to heal. We don't know, but could be. He's going on the IL. Those are the two big moves. Before you say Trevor Bauer, let me say it. We're not going to talk about it this hour.
Or any hour.
I see the 70470 started with team. I see the YouTube chat. Find us, Jon and Jim 760. I see it all. And I see it on the wrap-up show every single night. This doesn't change anything related to Trevor Bauer. Trevor Bauer is Trevor Bauer. This has nothing to do with IL Darvish's health. So let me just say that. That's the extent of Trevor Bauer. If they need starting pitching, which they do, AJ Preller can go acquire it. All right. So that's what he's going to be tasked with doing with the trade deadline approaching. He's got about a month to deal with it. But this, I thought they'd get one of these two back. This was a wrap question a couple of days ago, maybe. Will they get either of these two pitchers back, Musgrove, Darvish, or will they be productive at any point? Now it's hard to say. I thought they'd get Darvish back. I really did. But now that it's an elbow, I'm not as optimistic as I was 3 hours ago.
If you're telling me who am I less optimistic about to return, it would be Musgrove still.
Mm-hmm.
But Darvish is making a case right now. If you're going to miss time because of elbow inflammation or elbow discomfort or whatever is going on with your elbow, little ouchies or oh no's, like you might be catching up to Joe Musgrove as far as uh-ohs. It is not good when anytime you talk about an injury with your elbow, especially with this organization.
Mm-hmm.
Preller will go out and he'll make a move. Does this, to you, Jon, feel like with where this team is at, with how the National League is, with kind of this pressure on this organization to win now, with the pressure on Preller, there is pressure on Schilt, whether he says that there's no pressure or not. Is it like bye-bye top prospects time? Do you feel like?
Probably not. No, I don't feel that way. I really don't. I think you got to consider the whole picture. The whole picture is you're in a league that doesn't require you to, pull the right card to win the hand. There's a lot of cards that are going to provide winning hands, and I don't know if they're going to come up with it or not. My concern is less about any one player and about the totality of the injuries. Like at some point you're breaking the camel's back. Now, again, can you break the camel's back and win 80 games? Maybe, but You can't tell me this doesn't add up to be significant when it's Darvish, Musgrove, Bogarts, Tatis at the same time. Like, that is significant. I'm not saying that it ends the season because I don't think it does, but that's significant. Just saying that out loud and knowing it's not a one-day thing. Like, it's not like any of those 4 are guaranteed to return tomorrow.
But we're not, at least I'm not, going to use injuries as an excuse. They got to figure out ways to overcome these. Now, if the entire team gets injured and you look up in middle to late August and there's no Luis Ariz or Jake Cronenworth or Manny Machado or, Tatis or Bogarts in the lineup, okay. You want to use
there'll be a point.
That's the point. Everybody. Like, I view it as if you are going to consider yourself a good team, you got to overcome these injuries. You just have to, unless it's a situation where everybody's out. Then you can't help but to concede and fold that, injuries are the reason why this team won't make the postseason this year.
But what if, your point's valid. Like you said earlier, like what if the Dodgers or the Braves dealt with injuries? They would be asked to overcome them.
Or the Phillies or the Yankees.
But what if I told you this? What if we use the premise of heading into the season? I mean, I hate to put it so bluntly, they weren't viewed as a good team. So they needed, we said a lot in the offseason.
You don't think they were viewed as a good team?
They need Darvish, Musgrove, help. No.
You don't think
they went into the season? Las Vegas doesn't lie. They were projected to win what? 82, 83, 82 and a half? You tell me. I'm asking. I don't know.
Was this before Dylan Cease?
I don't know. But we had these conversations about projections and Baseball Reference and Zips and Vegas. They're coming off an 82 and 80 season in which they sold off their best player. That was the premise we started the season from.
I think if the equation had to be with Ariz and with Dylan Cease.
Okay, that's a little different. Okay, I see what you're saying.
If those are in the equation, then
that's fair.
Then
more
absolutely, fair. I think this season should have been considered on paper a good team, no doubt about it.
Okay, well, I went back and looked. 2024 projections, they did it like scout scale, 80 being the best, like 20 the worst. They gave Padres the average, 50.
Okay.
From 20 to 80 heading into the season. They were deemed as a team.
And I agree with that without,
you know what I mean?
Without Dylan Cease and without Luis Ariz.
So, okay, so you'd probably agree with it too without Xander Bogaerts and Fernando Tatis Jr. and Yu Darvish and Joe Musgrove heading into the season.
Well, they had them.
I know, but now they don't.
And I still, even with Dylan Cease or Luis Ariz, I would look at this roster and be like, okay, maybe not 95 wins, but you tell me they can't get to 84? You can't tell me they can't get to 85 with a fairly reasonably healthy roster.
I'm listening.
That to me, I think to say that they weren't to go into the season and not consider them at least to be viewed as a good team, I disagree with that.
ESPN.com, March 25th. Projected record, 81 and 81. Playoff percentages, 32%. Chances of winning the World Series, under 1%.
So
March 25th.
Okay, but 41 and 41, John. We're all sitting here saying that right now it feels like a disappointing first half, right?
Well, that's the thing. Are we looking at it through the right lens?
Well, I'm looking at it through the lens.
Because you said the first hour, it's actually pretty impressive.
For where they're... I think that being 41 and 41... Did I say it was impressive?
I think. We'd have to play back.
Because I don't feel like it's not impressive. It's just like kind of right where they need to be.
Right.
It's not where I would want them to be. And I think a lot of Padres fans would agree with that, because being around 500 consistently like this for this long period of time, it's not fun to watch. Like, especially with how many big time contracts they have on this team. Like, hey, I would love to watch a team that actually wins more than they lose. And I would like to watch a team that doesn't always sit around 500.
ESPN.com to start the season. How can they become true contenders? Get more production out of Manny Machado, Fernando Tatis Jr., Xander Bogaerts, Joe Musgrove, and Yu Darvish.
Okay. Yeah.
4 of those guys are on the IL.
I know. That's a problem. And maybe ESPN's right in that sense of like, those are the guys you're looking at. Well, you're gonna if you're banking your season on the contributions and the production from those 5 guys all producing coming off of injuries or down years or surgeries or whatever the case may be, you're probably not going to be in a good position. And I agree with that. But I also would look at it from the standpoint of like, they're not all like 40 years old here.
No.
Yeah, you have Musgrove coming off an injury. You have Darvish coming off of an injury. They weren't like major surgeries. I don't think they even had surgery. The only person of that bunch that had surgery was Manny Machado.
And he's out there.
And he's the only one that's out there playing.
Bogey's had a significant injury now, we can all agree, because he had a shoulder fracture.
But no surgery.
He's going to miss months.
Right. It's just he's got to heal.
He's got to heal, and then Tatis will see.
What are we even talking about?
The point being, like, we're viewing it through a prism of them being like, did they come into the season being seen as a good team? Like, be honest. Like, think back to then. They're coming off 82 and 80. They traded away Juan Soto. There were massive questions heading into the year. And now the premise was this. They need to get to the postseason to save the jobs of their front office. That's absolutely factual. But I don't know if anyone was saying, like, they're just going to get there. Like, there was going to be adversity to get there, and they're dealing with that now, not just adversity, but also injuries.
Would you agree that coming into the season, there was at least an expectation of being a good team? Because we both said,
I'm with you. Like, dude, if
you
we
said
were in
86 wins, I said 86 wins. You might have
you said 85, I said 84.
Did you?
Or 86, 85. I'm one fewer than you.
Okay. But still.
So that was my prediction, but that doesn't mean, like, again, if you're covering this team,
but that's you,
and I was in
expecting them to be good.
San Francisco, I wasn't gonna be like, I mean, seriously, if we're covering this team in Los Angeles, San Francisco, Seattle, Portland, whatever, we're just talking baseball in the West. Like, would you really say, oh yeah, they went 82 and 80 last year and traded Soto, but I expect them to be better? Would that be your take in Phoenix?
Probably not, because you don't follow the Padres.
Yeah,
but then I reel off, hey, they got Tatis and Xander and Manny in that lineup. Like, those guys better be good. Oh, if they're good, then maybe the Padres can be good.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah,
that's what. That's where we were. That's what we were predicting on. I'm you and me. I'm not gonna start the season by being like, I think they're going 71 and 91.
No,
because that's not what I want to see, and it's not what I was hoping for. And they're not going 71 and 91, regardless.
No, they are not.
We've seen enough to know they can compete.
So you did not go into the season expecting them to be good.
I didn't expect. I thought it would be a fight to get to the postseason, which is what we're watching play out. You felt the same way, right?
Yeah, but I expected them, and they still could be. I expected a team that was not going to be just a 500 team potentially throughout the entire year.
It's fair, and I said the same thing. I agree with you, but I also didn't expect their whole team to be on the IL.
So how do we even get here?
I don't know. Let's go to the phones. 877-767-4760. If you want to weigh in. I mean, here's the simple question. Can they overcome this or not?
Oh, yeah, that's the thing.
877-767-4760. Loyal listener Dave back with us on Jon and Jim. And Dave, thank you as always.
Well, greetings to you guys. And good Lord, I'm lost after listening to this.
Thank you. That's the point.
Yeah, we went down a path of like, wait, what are we arguing about?
Yeah, there you go. This is one for the wrap-up show at about 11:02 when we're all half asleep.
Yeah.
So a few things for you to maybe add some clarity or not. But, look, said this before, said this again. You got the big 5+1 now that you add Jake to it. Look over the time that they've all been here and try to figure out if they have ever consistently played together at the same time and also consistently produced at a high level relative to their contracts at the same time. You're going to be pretty disappointed when you go back and look at that history, because the answer to that is no. So there's a lot of money here that's been spent, as we pointed out, that's getting nowhere. No rings, no World Series appearances. Got a problem with that. Next, AJ and his track record at the trade deadline date. How many players that he's picked up at the trade deadline are still here? Answer is 0.0. Last. Don't think he's going to go get Crochet, because who's making a heavy play for him, and they've got the capital? The Dodgers. And you've got other teams out there, far too many buyers, not enough sellers. So you're going to have to look at what you've got right now, either on that team or within the minors. Pretty much is going to have to get you to wherever you think you're going to go.
Dave, thank you. I don't know if that's true. What they have or what they have in their system is what they need to rely on to get them to where they go. Because that hasn't typically been the case under AJ. I'm not saying he's going to make the right move or, to Dave's point, it'll be impactful. He's going to try.
Because whoever you trade for, like, you get a starting pitcher, realistically, how many games are they starting in the second half?
Yeah, well, if you get him 60 games to play, it's 12.
12, yeah, 12 games that they're going to impact. Now, those could be a huge 12 games of the impact.
But break it down. You're right. Let's say you were going 5-7 in those 12. And now let's say you go 6-6 or 7-5. You've gone +1, +2, which is impactful. But it's not some big swing.
Right. An everyday player is more of a impactful piece. Potentially. Yeah. But maybe it is the deciding factor, those 12 games that the starting pitcher, whoever they acquire, would start. Maybe it is the reliever that they pick up that comes in 20 times in August and September, right? Maybe it is those two guys that appear in 32 games for the Padres for the remainder of the season? Two players. Starting pitcher, 12 games started, and then a reliever, 20 games.
Gotcha.
Right? That's not a lot. And you'd have to make sure that those two guys, whenever they're in there, have a big impact. Yes, those can help you, but you also still need the others that have been here throughout the season to perform, or you ain't going anywhere.
Wait, so do you think there's a chance we get the 2021 Preller speech? We could have acquired Scherzer, but even with Scherzer, we would have needed everyone else to contribute. We're not going anywhere just by making one move for Max Scherzer.
I would be curious to find out or go back and see where they were in the standings at the trade deadline in 2021. They were probably still very much in it, right?
Oh my gosh, they were 15 games over 500.
Okay, so they were very much in it.
Yeah, they were 18 over in August.
So maybe that's a case of hey, we have a little wiggle room here, and we just are going to expect our guys to be better, and we're not in dire needs, even though it kind of felt like they were going down. The ship was going down very fast.
How do you say? Let's look it up again. So the final day of July, they're 61-47.
Jeez.
And then they got it as good as, Jim, 67-49. So they go 6-2 from there. They're 18 over on August 10th. They're 67-49. They would finish under 500.
And then the Scherzer day happened. And then everything went downhill.
Yep.
So getting another starting pitcher and another reliever is kind of a must right now with the injuries that they're dealing with. But is it worth giving up the entire farm for it?
I have no idea.
To have 30 games potentially, maybe a little more, maybe less, I don't know, be impacted by whoever you trade for.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'd be shocked if they traded away their top two prospects, Ethan Salas, Leo DeVries. I'd also be shocked if they gave up any of their top 5 prospects for players that didn't have additional control.
Oh, he's Mr. Got to find somebody with control.
That's the thing. So to your point, hey, would you give it up for 20, 30 appearances in 2024? No. Where Preller can twist arms of the Consendas and the Groupners maybe, and the fan base.
Well, that's also another question.
Hey, 2025. Hey, 2026.
That is a massive
question.
Does
he have the leash?
Does he have a leash? Can he convince, Grupner and Casenda? And is he going to even be allowed to trade certain pieces? How much money can he bring back in these trades?
Right.
What are the restrictions there? A lot of factors. There is not just a, hey, free reign, do whatever you want, like there maybe has been in the past when he could go to Peter and convince him. I'm not going to say easily, but it felt like pretty easily to go out and make big time moves.
I agree with you. Now, I still would think, go down this theoretical with me. They deal with injuries all season, which is clearly occurring. And we'll see if it occurs in the second half or not. And they do the same thing as last year. And, maybe they miss out at 82-80. I wonder if a change happens. Trading for a rise. I don't know. I don't know what to expect. Is it going to be as black and white as get in or not? I don't know. Or will they use the excuses that I'm making right now for the club, which is they've got 4 of their 5 highest paid players on the IL, and it matters. I don't know if they're going to make that excuse or not.
looking at the smaller picture here, you have a very tough series coming up with the Washington Nationals, and I say very tough because you're facing three straight lefties.
I know. I mean, I agree. Everything we're saying is accurate. I feel the same way, and then I look, they're massive favorite tonight.
Well, Patrick Corbin
has been awful.
Look, is one of the worst pitchers in baseball,
and Matt Walsh is one of the best.
And if he goes out there tonight and he goes like 5 innings, 1 earned run allowed, it just will continue to be a problem, man. Continue to be a problem for this team. And that's the part of where I say they have traits of a very bad baseball team. The other traits they have that are really good, you see it with their offense at times. But then when they face left-handed starting pitching, they just forget how to hit.
Yes. And a year ago, it was the opposite. But let's go back to the phones. 877-767-4760. Can the Padres overcome these injuries? Or 70470 started with team. Let's go back to the phones in line 4. Cadillac John. You're on with Jon and Jim. Thanks for calling, man.
What up, gents? How are you?
How you doing, man?
Nice to hear your voice. I love you guys, all three of you, Brett, Jon, and Jim. Always class act.
Thanks, man.
So I got a question, guys. Do you think that maybe there's a misalignment of desires and goals? Like, what if the Padres are just happy with being a profitable organization, and maybe not everybody in the front office really cares about a World Series? Like, what if they're like, we're making money, they got cushy jobs, and yeah, we'll win, and people will still show up. Like, what if us fans care about the World Series so much more than maybe some people that should care in the Padres organization? I don't know. It just feels like we care more about them winning. What are your thoughts, guys?
I feel, tell me if you agree. I feel like that's a bridge too far based on the way the Padres organization as a whole. I know Seidler's passed, unfortunately, but I feel like that's a little unfair to the way they've committed over the last 5 years. That's how I feel. They've taken a step back in payroll. I feel like they've legitimately gone for it. I'm not saying everyone has to feel that way. That's just how I feel.
The last 5 years was with Peter Seidler. Tell me how the next 5 years look. Then I'll let you know.
Sure, but this year's not with Peter Seidler. Like you said, heading into the year, people are thinking they're a good team.
But they did also
the expectation was from Preller to make the postseason.
Yeah, I know.
Contender.
And under Peter Seidler, do you think they're really cutting $100 million?
No, I don't.
Yeah. So there is probably a little truth in Cadillac John's theory here. I do think. I mean, if you look up every single night, they're drawing 40,000 plus. They're making record money at the box office. They're selling merchandise left and right. I mean, every corner you see somebody with a Padres jersey on. Do you really think the organization's like, dang it, but we're 41-41? At least some. Not
Maybe
all.
some's probably fair.
Yeah.
But no, I actually think, and I hope I'm right, I actually think they care about winning. Now, the problem is they haven't found a way to do it.
I absolutely think they care about
they
winning.
legitimately desire winning.
But I do think there's probably some people in the organization that deal with like the marketing side.
Yeah, maybe.
Like that's their job, right? Their job. They're crushing it. I think they are putting their head on the pillows at night being like, okay.
Yeah, but you and I agree. We've had this conversation. At some point, that all runs out.
But it's also not the marketing person's job to worry about
win.
Winning.
Agree, but don't you think the marketing guy, the one reason I wouldn't sleep well is if I'm the quote unquote marketing guy, is if you do this again and miss out, you are not drawing 40,000 for forever without winning.
You're right.
We all agree with that.
You're totally right.
They've marketed very well. They've had some teams that have been, I don't know. I mean, they're star-laden teams. They're marketable teams, but winning's going to play a role moving forward.
Yeah,
it's not the only role, clearly, but it is going to play a role. We've been asking this question. We'll continue to do so on the other side. Can the Padres overcome these significant injuries and still make the postseason in 2024? 877-767-4760. Also, we're giving away a pair of New Kids on the Block tickets on the other side of this break. So do not go anywhere. Plus, Jim's back page still ahead. All right. So if you're a veteran, listen up. Did you know that you can access up to 100% of your home's equity right now? Hey, guys, it's Schaefer. You can do it with Loan Pronto's VA Equity Advantage program. You can get 30, 50, 100 grand or more and use that money to pay off all those credit cards and personal loans, car loans. Maybe use that cash to do that home improvement project. Veterans love working with Loan Pronto because they make it easy. No junk fees, no hassle. They can unlock that cash in your home's equity in a matter of weeks. Don't keep paying insane rates on credit cards. There's a smarter alternative with Loan Pronto. Get more info and start the process now at loanpronto.com. Or if your current VA loan rate is over 6.5%, Loan Pronto can get you in a streamlined refinance with a lower rate right now with no income verification and no appraisal. Lower your monthly payment big time. Loan Pronto makes it so easy for veterans. You can call right now, 619-207-4336, 619-207-4336, 619-207-4336. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval, NMLSconsumeraccess.org.
All right, this update is brought to you by Staples Stores. Padres start a 3-game series with the Washington Nationals tonight at Petco Park. 6:40 first pitch. Matt Waldron on the mound for the Padres. Fernando Tatis Jr. going to the IL. IL Darvish will not come off the IL tomorrow to pitch. He's got a little ouchie in his elbow. Major will be starting tomorrow, presumably for the Padres. Game 7 of the Stanley Cup final. Florida Panthers just got on the board. They lead the Edmonton Oilers. Wow. 1-0 in the first period, about 15:30 left in the first period there of game 7. And the Lakers today, they announced the hiring of JJ Redick as their next head coach. And the San Diego Wave today dismissed their head coach, Casey Stoney. Staples can print anything you need to move your business forward, like banners, flyers, signs, and catalogs, some even on the same day. And now at Staples, save up to $50 on your print purchase. Offer on 7/6. Visit staples.com/print for details.
Black tickets within the next 10 minutes. Now, that one hurt. The Florida Panthers goal. Now, sure, I haven't watched the Panthers or the Oilers until the last week, but I'm Team Oilers. I'm Team Canada.
You want the team that has come back from 3-0 to make history win it.
And Canada. It's like all they care about is hockey.
Oh, Canada.
And they haven't won. This would be like if no American team won a World Series for 30 years. And it was just the Blue Jays every year. Like, we care more about it here. Now,
I just want a good game.
I want a good game too. And that first goal was impressive. But so, like you said, 5 minutes in, Florida's got their first lead, Jim, since game 3 of the series. Yeah. Their first lead since game 3.
Please don't be like a 5-1 win.
Oh,
here.
dude, you're right. If this is 3-0 after the first period.
And I don't think it will. Dude, hockey players are built different.
That's great.
They like
true.
How hard they play every
It's unbelievable.
single time up and down the ice.
The season started 10 months ago. It's almost July.
They leave they leave everything out there.
Yeah, there's no load management. In
No.
They are balls to the wall. I love it. Just please be a good game. That's all I ask.
No, I agree. Well, we're going to get history one way or the other. Panthers' first Stanley Cup or Canada's first Stanley Cup since 1993 and the first for Edmonton since 1990. Again, we have those new kids on the block tickets. We're giving them away as we get you ready for Padres and Nats, game 1 of a 3-game series. By the way, we'll talk NBA draft tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to do that with an NBA draft analyst who will join the show. Scheduled to join us today. It'll be tomorrow. Erson Demir, NBA draft analyst. We'll talk to him about Keyshawn Johnson, Jaden Ledee, who's going to go number 1 overall. We're 2 days away from that, by the way.
Which kind of just came up out of nowhere.
It did. Now, the finals ended in kind of not thrilling fashion. By the way, Edmonton has tied it up.
Oh, baby. Let's go. Let's go.
All right.
It's on. It's on.
Wow.
It's on.
Wow.
Stay seated, everybody.
Oh, my gosh.
Everybody,
we need an NHL team.
Whoever's in your car right now, just make sure you are focusing on the road. But Edmonton has just tied it up 1-1.
2 minutes later.
13-16 left in the first
like
period.
Edmonton, man.
I am happy about this right now. I like it.
Dude, I'm telling you, we need an NHL team. Yes, we all want NBA. We will all take any of these.
Oh, my gosh.
And I would be like, imagine if this was San Diego Oilers. This would be a big deal. If the San Diego Oilers were game 7 of the Stanley Cup right now,
yes, John,
this would be a very big deal.
John, it'd be a
bigger than the Toddy quad situation.
It'd be a massive deal.
Huge.
It'd be massive.
We'd be freaking out.
We would definitely be freaking out, John.
Would we have rights? We wouldn't even be on the air.
Knowing us, we probably
because
would.
You'd be calling this game. You'd be calling this big hockey game. You and J-Ref.
No.
That's the team.
Probably would.
That's the broadcast team for the inaugural season.
Knowing us.
What do you got, Brent?
We wouldn't have rights.
I was just gonna say, it just goes to show what a just poor draft class we have this year for the NBA draft.
No, I thought you were gonna say NHL. I'm like, wait, what?
It's the greatest NHL draft class ever. No, but just even like last year, there was no mystery that the Spurs were going to take Wemby,
right?
But that didn't stop ESPN from just hyping up Wemby and just advertising Wemby. I haven't
Who
seen
is it this year?
Exactly. I haven't seen
Donovan Alex Sarr.
Well, I haven't seen a single ESPN fluff piece about, the number 1 pick or who's going to be the number 1 pick. It's like you said,
Windhorst in Paris last year
for an interview that didn't even
for 90 seconds.
The sound wasn't even on.
70 seconds.
His mic wasn't even working.
It's ridiculous.
This is in freaking Paris, dude.
He talked to him for 2 questions.
But it's just like there's just like no hype, and now all of a sudden the draft is like in 2 days.
Dude, this thing, I can't do this show.
I know.
This thing is action-packed, back and forth. Feels like both teams want to win it tonight, Jim.
He's gonna go by Jones skates.
Seriously.
It is a must-win game, John.
It's definitely a must-win game tonight.
It's a must-win game for both of these teams.
They should have this on in like by the way, this past week, maybe it was Juneteenth, I went down to Gallagher Square for the first time. I know you were there before the season or when the season started.
How awesome is it?
They did an amazing job.
I know.
I mean, they should be commended for what they did. It is spectacular.
Yeah, they used
If
all
you
that
have
Juan
a
Soto money for that outfit.
Oh, that's exactly what they did. I'll tell you who likes it. I'll tell you who'd rather have Juan Soto in New York is Jones, because that playground is nice. If you're a 5-year-old boy, that playground is the nicest playground in San Diego County.
Right. It helps out all the parents that bring their kids to the Padres game. They can't sit still in their seats.
Holy moly.
And you still want to watch the game, bring them to Gallagher Square, have them go on the jungle gym, down the slide by the restaurant back there, and you can still watch the game and be there at the park.
But in all seriousness, they did a spectacular job. And the fact that it's open, as we always know, year-round, and you can get in there and you got doggy section, whatever it is. You know, you can walk your dog, you can play on the playground. They got everything you need.
What month is it? It's June.
It's June.
Hey, John, 3.5 months ago called.
I don't care. I do a wrap-up show every single day. I just wanted to let you know I was there, and it was very, very
dude,
nice.
have you seen the new Gallagher Square?
My point is, if they miss out,
game 81.
If they miss out at 82 and 80, they did a nice job with Gallagher Square. Maybe that's what the caller was trying to say, Cadillac John.
Well, you know,
I disagree though.
You win some, you lose some, and they won the Gallagher Square. You know, I guess whatever. I don't know.
Good point. All right, here's what I want to do. By the way, this 3-game series against the Nationals, like you said, is 3 left-handed starters.
Yeah.
You got Waldron tonight, so I think that's very good news. Now, again, you thought you had Darvish tomorrow. Now it's Adam Mazier. Like that's a big change from a guy that's capable of being like 6 innings, no runs.
Adam's like, wait, what? I got to pitch again? Because every game with him was like teetering on.
I know, a lot of base runners,
This
a lot
could
of walks.
be a bad thing. I mean, he did well. I think they won 2 of his four starts. And he just walked the world, though. That was the problem.
Right.
And now the more you get to pitch Adam Mazier, the scarier it gets.
And again, a stopgap if it's a start or two. Like
4 starts, you're fine with. But when you push like the 10 starts,
15, yeah, exactly.
Then you're like, uh-oh. I mean, how many walks to strikeouts does he have?
I don't know.
He's got to have more walks than strikeouts this year.
I mean, again, it's a small sample size. He's young. I don't know. Do you know? He's got a 7.27 ERA in 4 starts.
Yeah,
he's issued 16 walks. He's struck at 11.
He's got a
That's not good.
1.96 whip.
Yeah, it's not good. It's not good. So can they survive it? That's the question of the next. I mean, it's crazy they're into the second half of the year. It really is. Like fewer games remaining.
Time flies when you're having fun, John.
No joke.
Or if you are constantly hating things and having to ask yourself questions like, why is this team doing this to me?
Time flies then too.
Yes.
All right, call right now. Who wants 2 free tickets to New Kids on the Block, July 7th at the North Island Credit Union Amphitheater? Caller 7. Those are your tickets. 877-767-4760. 2 free tickets. New Kids on the Block, July 7th, North Island Credit Union Amphitheater. Call right now. Caller 7 are yours. 877-767-4760. 877-767-4760. Update from Sunrise, Florida, Stanley Cup Final. Update from Petco Park. Jim's back page next. We have an update on Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Final, plus Jim's back page next. Period. And it's 1-1.
Okay.
Here's the breakdown. Florida scored first, and then Edmonton answered 2 minutes later. There was about 5 minutes to play in the first period. They're tied at 1. Could we get overtime in a Game 7? Has there been overtime in any game in this series? I think the answer is no. No overtime games at this point.
Oh, in this series, no.
Imagine overtime Game 7 Stanley Cup Final.
I'll take it.
Are we ticketed for that tonight? It's a little early.
A little early, John.
Yeah, it's early to say that. So we're keeping our eye on that, and then we're keeping our eye on Padres Nationals Game 1. You know, all this injury talk, by the way, since the 5-game losing streak, 4-1, right? Won the last game where Philly beat Ranger Suarez, a lefty.
That's how this team works.
And so they've played well. Here in recent, they played well against the Brewers.
I feel like every time we get to a point, we're like, hey, this team's playing well. Boom!
Right. And then every time they lose 4 in a row, they play well.
This team sucks. And they're like, gotcha.
Well, whenever they play a team they're supposed to beat, they lose. And whenever they play a team that's supposed to just boat race us, we win. That's kind of what, on paper, everyone thought the Brewers, Milwaukee was hot. We weren't. And they thought the Brewers are going to come in and just boat race us. And it was the opposite. And how many below 500 teams are like, oh, it's Oakland, we're good. Or, oh, it's only Anaheim. And then, we lose.
It's a fair point. All right, let's get to this.
Did you see, John, that Taylor Swift is performing her Eras Tour in London at Wembley Stadium?
I did, with Travis Kelce.
Yeah, it's a big deal because London is, I guess, all over her album. Like, it's a big influence on her album because her former boyfriend was from London.
Which one?
Joel Alway, I think his name is. But that was like the longest relationship she had, like 6 years. I learned everything from Aaron. But the London part of her Eras Tour was like a big part of her tour.
Yeah.
Because Taylor Swift and her fans, they always do the like inside meanings of things and all that. And then Travis Kelce being on stage just blew every Taylor Swift fan's mind this weekend. Huge, massive.
That's a big story. Now, what did he do?
He was a part of like
one song.
No, like a transition. I don't know what he was. I think it was he just dressed up like in a tux and he was on stage like carrying her and everyone lost their minds. So big thing if you're a Swiftie out there.
What would you prefer to have been at, that or Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Final? You would prefer to be at London.
I think I would be in London, dude.
I'm going to this thing, man.
Going to London, bro.
It's not every day you get to watch Edmonton and Florida.
Well, speaking of that, did you see the thing with her plane? You know, there's all those like stop oil now like protesters that will go and lay in the road over in Europe.
Oh,
well, they'll lay in the road or they'll put orange paint on stuff.
Gotcha.
They thought they were going to make a big point about her flying everywhere in her private jet. So they like literally, like it was Metal Gear or something, cut through the fence at an airport in London and then ran out with looked like a bug sprayer, but it had orange paint in it and painted this plane they thought was hers. And then it was, oopsie, it wasn't her
hers?
plane. No, it was someone else's.
Whoops. Idea's gone bad.
Yes.
All right. What else do you have?
Michael Jordan's shoes from his broken foot game when he broke his foot in the first pair of Nikes.
Is that why they call it the broken foot game?
Yeah.
Because he broke his foot? Okay.
Well, like the Jordan 1s.
Yeah.
And he broke his foot and Nike's like, oh my God, he just broke his foot in our shoe. We are screwed. But everything worked out fine.
Right.
The actual shoes are going for auction right now. Guess how much the estimated price
Oh my
are
gosh,
for
so
these
much.
for these shoes.
So much. $1 million.
I mean, not far off. Kind of.
750,000.
Brent's closer. 500 grand.
That's a lot.
A lot for his shoes from the broken foot game.
Wait, and the broken foot game was
that was his second year. Or no, it was his rookie season?
I don't really know much about the broken foot game is my point.
Let me see here. 1985.
Okay.
Yeah, 1985. Was that?
Oh, it was against the Warriors.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Was that his second year? I think that was his second year.
Yeah, it was his second year in the NBA. Interesting. I didn't realize that was such a big deal.
Yeah. So there you go. Din Tai Fung, John.
Yeah, I love that
Loves
place.
me some Din Tai Fung.
What?
Asian spot.
They're
Diego.
They're gonna debut their first standalone restaurant in downtown Disneyland. So if you're a big fan of Din Tai Fung,
yeah,
it's gonna be in Disneyland. So Din Tai Fung, one of the newest restaurants opening in downtown Disney, is set to hold a soft opening today at the theme park.
Wow.
From 11:30 a.m. to 9 p.m. You can make reservations here. And I like how Disney is now incorporating like new restaurants into Disneyland and like bars into Disneyland with the cantina there in Star Wars Land where you can buy alcohol. So that's pretty cool there. And Hooters, John, is closing several underperforming locations here in San Diego County.
Okay.
Hooters is the latest casual dining chain to announce its closing at select number of locations nationwide. Hooters doesn't have the same like aura to me anymore. It never.
Well, yeah, because you're not
16.
Well, it also, I would say, for the last decade, Hooters has not been like Hooters that it was maybe
that you grew up on.
I don't know. Like, do you ever think of Hooters as like a place like, oh yeah, Hooters, yeah, let's go?
Well, I've never thought of it that way.
The internet ruined it because now it's just tame compared to
the internet.
You know, what you can just see every day on the internet.
I don't really know
how will the Raiders owner ever survive?
Here's the thing. What's changed? Like when people were going there in the 80s, it's been around for forever. So they've obviously had some success even post-internet. Internet's been around for 30 years. So like what's the reason for the closings, I guess? It's just not run as well. It's not. It doesn't seem to be. It's a fair point. It doesn't seem to be relevant as it was like 20 years.
every major sport, their sponsor was Hooters. Like NFL, like Hooters was everywhere.
Well, Hooters
Now you
used
don't
to,
see it anymore.
it used to be one of the only sports bars too, to where now it's like,
Yes,
there's B-dubs and all these other
True.
things to where there's so many more like sports bars.
That's a good point. All right, guys, we are back tomorrow, 3 p.m. right here on San Diego Sports 760. We'll be joined by an NBA draft analyst one day ahead of the NBA draft. Airson Demir, of course, will get ready for game 2 of the series as well. Talking about all these injuries impacting the Padres. Can they win tonight? We'll find out coming up this evening. If you missed anything today, sportsst.com, iHeartRadio app, iTunes, TuneIn Radio, or Spotify. You can find us on social media. Search for Jon and Jim, JONANDJIM. For Brent and Jim, I'm John. Back tomorrow at 3. We'll see you tonight for a wrap-up show. Keep it here at San Diego Sports 760.
Okay, bye.